Okay, welcome back. I figure I have a little bit of time now. I'm also make my predictions for week 8 of the NFL season. Starting on Thursday night, which is today, the Los Angeles Rams are playing host to the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams are coming in 2-4. The Vikings are 5-1. Both these teams I thought would honestly have opposite records by this time. I really thought the Rams are going to be very competitive this season. Just 2 wins so far. They did win last week, but they desperately need this win because if they drop to 3-5, sorry, 2-5, I apologize, then they might be in a little bit of trouble because you're getting almost halfway through the year, which is hard to believe. So a win is extremely necessary for them. As for the Vikings, they can suffer their first loss of the year. Um, I believe the Rams are going to take this one. I have a little bit more faith in Matt Stafford. I think he will lead this team to a victory, and they should pull to within at least a game below 500. There are no games overseas, so all these are taking place in the United States, unless some for reason they're playing elsewhere. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. So starting in the AFC North, as the Cleveland Browns are playing host to the Baltimore Ravens. The Cleveland Browns are having a horrible season. They are 1-6. They just lost to Deshaun Watson for the rest of the season, so I believe Jameis Winston will take the starting job in this one. And they're coming in taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who have won 5 straight games after going 0-2 to start the season. The Ravens should be heavily favored to win this game, and I could see this being at least a two-score game by the time the game is done. It's a little out of focus. There we go. The next one has the Detroit Lions, who are 5-1, taking on the 1-5 Tennessee Titans. Well, the Lions are clearly favored in this one, and I have more faith in them than I do the Titans. I think the Titans are going to finish dead last in the AFC South, if I want to be completely honest with you. No insult towards Tennessee, but they're just not having a good year, to say the least. The Miami Dolphins, who are 2-4, I believe, are taking on the 3-4 Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to take Arizona in this one. Unless Tua is ready to go, and that I highly doubt the Dolphins are going to pull off a win. I mean, they're struggling without Tua. They were, I know I say this every time I preview the Dolphins, they were pegged to be like a favorite to win the AFC East because they were so close last year. And if they lose this one, they might be struggling just to make it into a wild card position. And I just have a little bit more faith in the Cardinals. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, they're a very surprising team. They're a sleeper because if they get to this win, they'll be 4-4, and then they could be in the thick of things, to say the least. Okay, next one has the New England Patriots taking on the New York Jets. Two teams who are miserable, to say the least. The 2-5 Jets had much higher hopes of the season, and even though they acquired Devontae Adams last week, he still wasn't that big of a factor. They are 2-4, sorry, 2-5, and the Patriots are 1-6. I'm going to give the edge to the Jets in this one because they need this win. And the Patriots, Gerard Mayo himself said they thought that the team was soft. They're obviously going through a rebuild, so it's going to be tough times in New England. I want to feel pity for you, but I'm a Broncos fan. You guys just killed me almost every playoffs we met. Luckily we got the last two, but I mean, you guys won 6 Super Bowls, so you can take it easy for a little bit. Give somebody else the chance. So yeah, I do. I have a little bit more faith in the Jets, and then they should pull to within at least one game below 500. Sorry, 2 games below 500. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are taking on the Atlanta Falcons. For the Buccaneers, they're actually going with their retro logo, which is the pirate, and they're going to be rocking like those creamsicle uniforms. I think they're pretty fancy. I like those uniforms, and I truly believe if not every team is doing this, if you put some retro jerseys in there, that'd be pretty cool. The Falcons are 4-3. The Buccaneers are 4-3 as well. I had a lot of faith in the Falcons. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they're not lost. They're still 4-3, but for a division that was so wide open at the beginning of the year, it could have been the Falcons, could have been the Buccaneers, but like now they're both tied for first, unless this because the Saints lost, and who else is in their division? The Panthers. So basically the winner of these two, I believe these two should uh, be competitive, and compete for a championship. But man, after the Falcons got rocked last week by the Seahawks, I have no choice but to go with the Bucks. Yes, they lost last week, but I have a little bit more faith, I should say, in the Buccaneers than I do the Falcons. Now, I hope Kirk can cook and have an amazing game, but man, if he's even starting, that is because he threw, I think, 3 interceptions the last game, and then they had their rookie quarterback come in and play the remainder of the game. So maybe they give the ball to him. Who knows? But I am taking the Bucks. Okay, the next one has the Washington Commanders taking on the Chicago Bears. And who would have guessed that going into Week 8, this would be a very critical matchup for both these teams? I had very little hope for the Bears and very little hope as well for the Commanders. But both these teams are proving me wrong, and congratulations. The Washington Commanders are 5-2, and the Chicago Bears, who just had their bye week last week, are 4-2. So both these teams are extremely talented, and I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. And just because the Commanders are playing so well, I'm going to give the edge to them. No disrespect to the Bears because they're having a fantastic season with their rookie quarterback. I think it's Williams, if I'm not mistaken, Caleb Williams. I hope that's right. But yeah, the Bears are playing fantastic. And again, the Commanders are playing just as good, if not better. And they're in first place of the NFC East. And even though the Bears are in fourth place of the NFC North, like that whole division is stacked because you have the Lions, who I just discussed, the Vikings, who I discussed, and I will be pausing to talk about the Packers in just a second. But there's only a game difference in wins for all 4 teams. It's insane. But even though the Bears are very good, I just think the Commanders are on a bit of a roll, and they definitely want to see if they can try to get a little bit more leeway in their race for the NFC East title. Okay, the Green Bay Packers are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This time it's in Jacksonville, unlike the last 2 weeks where they were played in London. I'm going to give the edge to the Packers. I think the Jaguars, yes, they did get the win last week against the Patriots, but again, that was the Patriots. This Packers team is legit, and I can see them possibly contending for a playoff spot. And doesn't matter if they have Love or Willis, both these quarterbacks, they have 2 very good quarterbacks. So God forbid something does happen to Love, they can at least rely on Willis to back him up because he did lead the Packers to 2 wins earlier in the season when Love went down with his leg injury in week number 1. Oh man, this is going to be a very intriguing matchup as we have the Houston Texans, who are 5-1 or something like that, or 5-2, 5-2. Sorry, they suffered their second loss of the season last week, and the Indianapolis Colts are 4-3. So there's just a game difference between these 2 teams, and I think it's going to be these 2 teams that are going to be competing against each other for the division. Because other than that, you only have the Titans. They're not doing so great, and then other than that, who else is in their division? I should know this. Jacksonville, and they only have 2 wins as well. So I think the Colts and Texans, just like last season, I think it might come down to one of those 2 teams winning the AFC South. I'm going to give the edge to C.J. Stroud. The guy is just having an unbelievable year. He won Rookie of the Year last year, so there's a reason that the Texans chose him. He's very talented, and he's locked up, I guarantee, or should be locked up for many years to come. So yeah, I think Houston's going to take this one. New Orleans Saints are taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. For New Orleans, they suffered their 5th loss of the season last week. They're 2-5, and the Chargers are 3-3, just coming off a bye. So, they lost last week. I apologize. For the Saints, I mean, if Derek Carr doesn't play, they don't have any hope. I mean, they barely showed up against the Broncos, and they were lucky to get 10 points. The Chargers are very good. Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic coach. Justin Herbert is obviously their franchise QB, and he got a lot of weapons around him. And so with that reason, that's why I'm taking the Chargers. I think they should go back to above 500. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. Up until last Sunday, I wouldn't have thought that the Seahawks would be that hot SH you-know-what. But man, they're playing very good. They're 4-3, and I think they're in first in the NFC South because the 49ers lost, the Rams aren't that great, and then yeah, the Arizona Cardinals have 3 wins, so they're Seahawks are in first place in the NFC South or NFC West. I apologize. Who would have guessed that? Not me. I had the 49ers running away with that division, but injuries unfortunately caught up with them. The Bills are playing very good. They're 5-2. They're obviously in first place in the AFC East. That's not a very big surprise. I'm going to give the edge to the Seahawks. No disrespect to the Bills, but after that game against the Falcons last week, like the Seahawks, I think they're going to be very dangerous moving forward. And if the 49ers don't get healthy in time, the Seahawks could surprise a lot of even myself, and they could possibly take the NFC West. Like it's so crazy because if they get a win here, they would basically have a 2 or 3 game lead in the division, which is I never again. I'm just gonna sound like a broken record. I never would have guessed this. Seattle's always been a tough place to play in for an opponent. So yes, it's going to suck if the Bills lose, but they'll still be 5-3, and they still should have at least a 2 game lead in the division, or at least a 1 game lead in the division. No, it'd be a 2 game lead in the division when it comes to week number 9. So the Bills, yes, they should win, but I just think the Seahawks, especially at home and that 12th man, that can make a huge difference for the outcome of the score. The Bengals and the Eagles. So for the Bengals, they started off 0-3. They've won 3 of their last 4. For the Eagles, they are 4-2, and they're second place in the NFC East. Oh man, this is going to be. I think this is going to come down to the wire. I honestly do, and because the Bengals have an on a roll, I think they get this win and get back to 500. Now, can the Eagles go into Cincinnati and win? Of course they can. Like they're a very good team, and like Jalen Hurts, he's legit as long as he's not throwing interceptions or stays healthy. He's legit. I think that goes to say with any quarterback. But I just think that because the Bengals are finally clicking, they're finally getting their mojo. I think they'll get back to 500 and get the home win. The Denver Broncos are playing host to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are having a terrible season. I think Bryce Young is going back in the starting quarterback. Andy Dalton, I think something happened to him. I'm not going to get into it, but there's a reason why they put the other guy back in, because otherwise there'd be no reason for him to even be starting. Like he should just be benched for the rest of the season. I'm sure Panthers fans are a little fed up at this point after basically a season and a quarter or a season and a half. But yeah, the Broncos should get the win, and they need the win because after this they go into, I think, Baltimore and Kansas City, so they need to get this win. If they can get to week 10 and have a 5-5 record, I'd be content. I really would. Oh, this is going to be a very good matchup. Well, if you're a Chiefs fan, it will be. The Chiefs are still undefeated, 6-0, and they're playing in Las Vegas, and Vegas is lost to say the least. I I don't see how they can possibly recover. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but they obviously had high hopes coming into this season, and I feel like they should be at least a 4-3 team at this point in the season. But it is what it is, 2-5. I believe O'Connell is down with an injury, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe Minshew's going back to quarterback unless they sign somebody else or have their third string guy be their quarterback. But I mean, unless you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, it's very hard to defeat him. It doesn't matter if you have home field advantage or not. So I would think the Chiefs, as much as I hate to say it, should move to 7-0. The Sunday night game takes place in San Francisco as two teams that are struggling to say the least. Well, not the Cowboys aren't terrible, but they did have a pretty bad game in week number 6. They are 3-3, and they're heading into San Francisco to take on the 3-4 49ers. Now, if everyone was healthy, I would say this would possibly be the game of the week, but the 49ers are a shell of themselves, but it's all because a lot of their key guys are out. And the Cowboys, I mean, they're just a team of question marks. They can look really great and absolutely spit the bed the previous week. I mean, they just laid an egg at home against the Lions, and apparently that was Jerry Jones' birthday. So that's like an fu to the owner if you don't even show up for his birthday. Um, but I think the Cowboys should get the win. Again, just because the 49ers are just so injury plagued, and it would be a miracle if they did win. They need it to get back to 4-4, but I think it's going to be tough, and I truly think the Cowboys will get the away victory on Sunday night. And the Monday night matchup is going to take place, I should say, in Pittsburgh, who are 5-2, very surprising, taking on the 2-5 Giants. So these teams have exact opposite records, and honestly, this part of the season, I thought they both would have been below 500. But the Steelers, man, you just can't bet against them. There's a reason they've made the playoffs every single year, or had an above 500 record every single year since '06 or something like that. Or like Mike Tomlin's been the coach since the '06-'07 season, and the Steelers obviously made the playoffs in the previous seasons before that. Um, so they've had a very good ratio when it comes to wins and losses. And the Giants are just, I don't know, they're just the Giants. I don't want to sit here and go on a big rant about the Giants. I've said my piece in the past. So, with that being said, it wouldn't matter if you started Russ or if you started Justin Fields. I still think that the Steelers would win whatever quarterback you have in your lineup. So, I don't think there's any teams that are on their bye week. And I forgot to grab my paper. And I'm not going to start this video over again. I'm already 16 minutes into the preview. So I do have to reach for my pad. So just bear with me. We'll see my arm and part of my body. Ugh. Okay. So last week I went 11-4. My overall record heading into week number 8, I have 70 wins and 37 losses. Not too shabby. I just had a couple of really bad weeks where I was below 500 and then I was exactly 500. So I'm hoping if I can keep around the 10-11 wins for my predictions, that would be fantastic. My goal is to obviously finish with an above 500 record with my predictions. So we'll see how I do after week number 8. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I will have my review next Tuesday morning for week 8 of the NFL season. I think I already said my spiel, so take care.